Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know what time it is where you are. It is afternoon where we are in Baltimore, Maryland, here on the East Coast of the United States. And my co host, Jay Jackson, where are you today?
I
Is it
am.
morning, afternoon,
It's
evening?
it's it's still morning here. Uh,
Can't hear
unfortunately, this.
you.
Oh,
So,
sorry. I don't know what's going on with the
oh,
audio.
still
Can
can't
you hear me?
still can't hear you. But while he's working on this audio, let me just say to everyone, welcome to the Chicken Box. Yes, the two X's is not a mistake. Where we have this motto that says "Don't be a chicken, get on the box." Is the platform powered by the 133-year-old Afro-American newspapers. We just call ourselves Afro News. We've been doing news and information and entertainment and all kinds of things for the last 133 years, since 1892, and we're glad that you have joined us on this afternoon for what we believe will be a powerful conversation. But before we introduce our guest and before we jump into this afternoon's conversation, I'm going to ask, if you're watching now, come on, text a friend and say, hey, Chicken Box is on. There's a fascinating guest today. You don't want to miss the conversation. So invite somebody to join you by Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. I'm Francis Tony Draper, CEO of Afro News. My co-host RJ Jackson, who is working on his audio, and Impeccable, who is not with us on today. And so we're going to jump right into today's conversation. I can't wait to speak with Sierra Morgan. And Jay Jackson, you have your audio back?
Can you hear me?
Not yet?
Okay.
Okay. All right. While he's still working on that, uh, there's beauty in a live show. The beauty is it's spontaneous and we are not edited. And, you make your comments in real time. We interact in real time. The other flip side of that is sometimes the technology does what technology does, right? And so we don't have audio on Jay's side. Hopefully, as our guest comes on, she will not have a problem with her audio. So let me get right to the introduction of, and excuse me, it is allergy season here in Maryland. So um, tissues we have, but I think some of you can relate to that. But Sierra Morgan is with us today. She's a dynamic HR executive. She's an entrepreneur. She's a caregiver um, advocate, but she is the reigning, the inaugural, the first Ms. Maryland Corporate America. Now, the Ms. Corporate America pageant, I don't know if that's the right term for it, Sierra, has been around for a while. But last year was the first time I understand there was a Miss Maryland pageant. You're going to tell us all about that. And Sierra won that. She's going to tell us what the competition was like and what her year has been like as she's preparing to
Yes.
crown Miss Maryland Corporate America 2026 in just in a few days, right?
Yes, that is
So,
correct.
yes,
It,
in a
it's
few
been a it's
days.
been a crazy year, a fast year at that too. So
Yeah.
yes, but
Okay. We
thank you so
can.
much for having me on the show. I
You're
appreciate
welcome. You're welcome. And your resume is extensive, and so I don't know how much we'll get into all of this, but Sierra is passionate about building high performing, human centered workplaces where the culture reflects the values that a company has. And so she's the founder and CEO of Rose HR. And so she helps small and medium sized businesses streamline their operations, strengthen their people strategy, hire exceptional virtual talent. Don't we all need that?
it.
And she's behind Caregiver Compass Academy. So, Sierra, we can have a conversation about Ms. Maryland Corporate America, about your HR business, about Caregiver Compass Academy. And if that's not enough, as you can see from her background, she has something called The Bottom Line, which is a podcast where she leads, as she calls it, bold conversations, right?
Yes, that is correct.
on careers and relationships and caregiving and real life experiences of a modern woman. Whoo, Sierra,
I
you
know,
have
right?
got a lot going on, and we
A little bit.
applaud you for it. Welcome to the Chicken Box. Jay Jackson, I think I heard your voice. Let's
I hope so. I was trying to
yes, we
lightly
did.
tap on it and see if it was making noise.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I
yes.
apologize. I'm so sorry about
No
that.
worries. That happens. I said that's the benefit, I guess, of having a live show. So welcome,
Absolutely.
Sierra. Of all of these things, and we see your crown and your title and all of these things that you're involved in. Uh, which one are you most passionate about?
That's a hard one. I don't know if I can choose just one because they kind of coincide all together. But I would have to say, obviously, family comes first. So being a caregiver advocate for sure, just speaking up for people that are unable to speak for themselves in the world, that is definitely near and dear to my heart and has been for over 16 years now.
Okay. All right. So just speaking out for those who can't speak for themselves, that's a great thing to do. What do you find in this caregiving environment that we all are going to find ourselves in? Either we're going to be receiving care, right,
Right.
or we're going to be giving care. Uh, do any themes emerge that people in general deal with, whether they're on the receiving or the giving end?
Well, I would say caregiving itself is definitely it's a sacrifice, whether it's a financial sacrifice, an emotional, mental, or physical sacrifice. And for me, I started out when I was in my 20s. So, and I am that only one in that power of attorney. And I had it from my great grandmother first, and then her daughter, which is my grandmother. Now I have my grandmother. So just that whole transition of life. But I think it's good for people to know and to prepare early, whether it's by getting long term care assistance, putting things together like in a will, putting money aside, finding those resources, identifying who would be available to help should something happen. Because a lot of times when people think of caregiving, they think of people as an elderly person, but really you can caregive for anyone of any age in that aspect. And I always tell like my friends that are parents, your child is going to grow up to become more independent while my child is going to grow up to be more dependent. And so it's even more of a toll. So you want to make sure too that you're taking care of yourself as a caregiver, because otherwise you would become victim to burnout. And, we give so much of ourselves to the person that we're taking care of that sometimes we do forget to take care of ourselves. So trying to find that balance, if it's things that you love to do before you got into caregiving, try to, as much as possible, maintain those things so you can have a balance of not losing yourself in the process.
That's great
Excellent.
advice. Jay Jackson, what's on your mind for Sierra?
Um, yes. So there's reportedly about 53 million caregivers in the United States, which is
Yes.
an astronomical number. What is the one thing you wish employers would know or understand about caregiving that when they're going through this actual process of caregiving?
I think it's important for employers. They think about people as just a number. As an
Sure.
HR exec, employees have come to me all the time, no matter where I was, and say, I feel like a number in the organization. And then when something happens, then it's like, oh, you missed one day and you've never missed a day. Then it's like, well, they're ready to get rid of you. Like we need to have some compassion and empathy for our people because again, like I was saying backstage, I believe in karma and we all could very well be going through something again just like that, and we have to allow for grace. And I think that there needs to be more policies put in place for if you're taking care of a loved one, because right now it focuses a lot on like FMLA focuses a lot on taking care of your parents or spouse or child if they're sick. It's nothing, for instance, for the grandchild. Although I'm
Mm.
the power of attorney, there's nothing to protect me from losing my job if I have to care give and take time off of work because there's an emergency. I mean, there's been many of days that I'm in the emergency room, in the hospital room. I have my laptop, I'm doing my meetings, I'm just multitasking. But it's like I really should have that time to focus in on my loved one. But I'm forced to have to balance both hats that I wear just to kind of keep things going. So allowing for that grace and that time to do what we need to do.
So it sounds more advocacy for sort of a very human-centric way of looking at these
Exactly.
employees during this time. Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like corporations and companies could benefit from that writ
Yes.
large, but yeah, it's very much very specifically in this avenue.
Yeah, and as times go on, especially, and I think that we started to have those type of conversations when COVID came up,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Because people had to take time away, and then you were forced to take time. If you had just a sniffle or something, they were like, "We don't want you coming in," and just thinking about those things and not penalizing people for being sick. I used to tell my employees, like, if you're sick, it's okay, stay home. They're like, "But I might get written up," and I'm like, it's okay. I will talk to the supervisor. I do not want you coming in here if you're not able to give your 100%. Same thing with caregiving. If your loved one is in the hospital or they are, let's say near life end stages, your mind is not going to be on work. Like, yes, some people may say, like, I want to do this to be distracted, but allow people to have that option. Don't make it where they have to do it.
Right.
Providing those like opportunities so they don't miss pay, because pay, every dollar counts when you're caregiving.
Right, because you're no longer just taking care of your normal responsibilities, you're also taking care of this other
Exactly.
person, which I'm sure the cost is astronomically higher than sort of
Oh,
day-to-day costs.
yes,
Yeah, of course.
definitely. And, they are, I teach a lot about like financial assistance as it relates to caregivers. And that's actually one of my pain points. And I was like, oh, well, I get into this because, we get funding from the state
Right.
currently. And what people don't realize is you either have to be rich or you have to be poor to get any type of assistance. If you're rich, then yeah, you can hire people, at the $30 an hour that the agencies are charging. And then if you're poor, or low income, then you can apply for state assistance. However, that state assistance, they're so backed up with cases. Like when my great grandmother got off that waiting list, she had just passed. We got the paperwork 2 months after she passed, and she had been on the waiting list for at least 3 to 4 years.
Mm.
And now that my grandmother is on it, you have to complete a plan of service, as they call it, every year, and they approve you for hours. And I've had to fight via appeals and everything for the hours. And this time they denied me after taking 2 years to review the yearly plan of service
That's insane.
and reduced my hours from 60 to 45. And I had, of course, put in for an appeal. And they said that can take up to a year to get the date for that appeal. And what that means also is if I lose the appeal and I have to stay at that 45 hours, whatever hours I've used between 45 and 60, that difference I have to pay back. Now, how is a low income person supposed to pay that back?
It's
I'm not
impossible.
understanding,
No, it's
So it's
impossible.
those things that get people worked up, and not everybody has an advocate, unfortunately, like myself. And, that's what I want to help people on, and, just trying to keep pushing out there, because I don't think that's fair. You put these rules in place, but then you yourself don't have the capacity to keep things flowing and how they need to be. And people need care now, and people are stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I've talked to some caregivers that are like, I had to quit my job because I had nobody to be with my loved one during the day so that I could work.
It sadly does make sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that is a little sad because in the meantime, I would assume the people who need care deteriorate in that time too while you're waiting.
Yep. Yep. So they even end up needing even more care than they originally had put in for. And it's like, again, with this yearly plan of service, I don't think, unfortunately, anybody is going to get better where they're never going to need, service. Unfortunately, they're going to always decline every year. And the whole point of that specific program, that waiver program, is to keep people out of, nursing homes and keep them at home for as long as possible. But how can we do that if you're taking over a year to even approve them for certain
Hmm.
things? Like, make it make sense. That's all I'm saying.
And
So,
the thing is, it rarely does, which is
right.
it's just
So
what it
I'm
is.
just really trying to work on that. And, when I do reign the next Miss Maryland Corporate America, I will have more time to get back into having those conversations with the delegates and senators. And I've already started those conversations many years ago and continued on. But I want to do it on a more broader scope, because I just don't understand. And actually, Medicare just came out with a program called the Medicare Guide. So that's a federal program now. Caregiving is now being discussed on a federal level, which is amazing. Um, and they give you up to 80 hours for the caregiver as for respite care. So that way, like, I can step away from my duties and have someone take care of my loved one. But I got approved for 71 hours for the year, but I had to use those hours from anytime from July 1st to June 30th. But the problem with
Right.
that is most appreciative. But then you have to train somebody every time they come in for those 4 hours. It's not like if I want to have somebody just for 1 week, then that's it. My hours are gone. So I only get 1 week of respite per year. Essentially is what it's, what it's coming down to.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
I,
that's hard.
I mean, it's funny because on the surface, it's like, well, you can get a week off, and that sounds nice. But if you're spending so much more time training this person about the
The different
intricacies of the
intricacies
person
of one. Hmm.
of your loved one, you end up spending far more time than the week off. So it's like when people, the old adage of like, yeah, but if I take this vacation, then I fall behind on work. So
Yep.
then I'm like doubling the amount of work. So I might as well just not go on
Yeah,
vacation.
it's like
It's the
basically
same
a
thing.
catch-22. I always say I spend
Right.
so much more money when it's time for me to go away. And, I'm trying to think, well, who's going to be here to work overnight? Who's going to be here? Who's going to provide meals? Who's going to pick her up from daycare? Like all of those things have my mind
Right.
spinning all the time. Just like today, I was supposed to take her to daycare, but with the weather outside, I said I'll just opt to, keep her at home. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
Sierra, that's, I mean, all of that we're talking about, I think is real for people.
yeah.
Before I ask this question, let me just say to those viewers who are tuning in, we're so glad to have you here. This is the Chicken Box, powered by Afro News. We hope you'll put your comments in the chat on whatever platform you're watching this. Uh, if you're watching it live now, we'll be able to answer right here on air. So Sierra, that brings me to the point for those caregivers. You said caregivers need to take care of themselves. The respite time equals 1 week. What would be ideal? I mean, you're both an advocate for caregivers, right?
Mhm.
And you are a caregiver. So if you could write the legislation, or if you could talk to and testify before whomever, Congress or the state legislature or Medicare or whoever, what would you say? What do people really need?
I would say, at bare minimum, once a quarter to be able to get away. And I know for some that's hard. I know some caregivers might say, once a month, but if, to just kind of start it off and be generally fair, being able to provide some type of stipend, for caregivers to be able to get away, because yes, you could provide that respite week. But if I don't have the money to go anywhere, to do anything, to rejuvenate or to get myself a massage, then what really I might, people feel like I might as well stay at home. That's just like employees that don't get enough PTO. Like I see a lot of employees, they don't take time off. And it's like, well, you have time. And they're like, I don't have any money to do anything. So I would just be sitting at home. So I might as well come into work every day. And that's that same type of feeling I feel like caregivers feel with. But again, when you get burnt out, then you start to get agitated, you start to get irritable. And, unfortunately, you can possibly take that out on your loved one. And they
Sure.
don't know sometimes what they're doing. And they can't help it. If they were back to their old selves, they wouldn't put anybody do this. They wouldn't wish that on anyone to do. But I think that, having more financial assistance, having more opportunities for care, because again, the average rate for home health aid right now is like between $30 to $35 an hour.
Mm.
How can you afford that? I mean, some people
Yeah.
don't even make $30 to
Exactly. I
$35
was gonna say, yeah,
an
that's
hour.
far below the average.
Yeah, so how can you afford that? And again, I'm blessed to have a good group, but if I had to go in front of the legislature, that's what I would say. Providing more, we do all these other $1 million plans and $1 million budgets and things like that. Why can't we have something dedicated for caregivers that we can pull into, to be able to allow us that time to get away? Or actually, they have facilities, yes, for respite care, but again, they are expensive too. So we have to have some type of balance. And I don't want to make it seem like everything is money, but unfortunately, money is what makes this world go around here in the US. And we need that. But again, just having more support on the back end. And I know the companies that own these agencies, they're behind too, because the Medicaid waiver agencies, Medicaid only reimburses them $24 an hour.
Mm.
So it's not, they don't have, after they pay the aid, they don't really have that much either to go off of. So everybody is really being affected from the top to the bottom. And I think that from a legislator perspective, unless they're going through it, they really don't understand what it means to be in this spot. And some of the delegates that I talked to, they were like, oh, I need to talk to you because now their ears are pinging because now they are becoming a caregiver and trying
Caregiver.
to find that balance. So if they were never put in that position, it would just go right over their heads, right? So I mean, we're getting into that time where that number, that 53 million, is going to be increasing because we have the baby boomers that are transitioning, that will also need caregiving assistance. And then even when my generation is at that age of the baby boomers now, we might not have Social Security, or we might not have anything. So I say to the people that are around my age, start investing, start putting that money aside, because again, you don't have to be 70 years old or 80 years old before you need care. Anything could happen at the drop of a hat, and we have to plan accordingly.
Yeah, no, that's a very powerful message. Let me ask you something. For those who are not familiar with the Miss Maryland Corporate America pageant, I obviously want to bring attention to your crown. I don't want people to just think, "Oh, this woman wears a crown just on a normal day," though that would be your prerogative. No judgment. Can you talk about what that pageant is? Is pageant the right term? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine it's a bit different than what people think of traditional sort of pageant. So can you kind of walk through what this is like? Obviously, this is very focused on business and your organization.
Exactly. So Miss Corporate America has been around for 18 years, and it's always been ran out of Florida, on the national level, where people from all different areas would come into Florida to compete. And so last year was the first time that it was done on the state level, and then we went to nationals to compete. But Miss Corporate America, as a whole, is in regards to empowering women that wear, like myself, multiple hats, and that work in the corporate setting, and want to be heard, not just seen, not just, again, a number. And the platform for Miss Corporate America allows women such as myself to amplify their voice, amplify, and be able to network. Each generation of every year, I guess I should say, of people competing, they all build a sisterhood, and we all network amongst each other. So whatever I don't have, oh, I might need what you have in your business. Let's get together and collaborate. So it's that bond of sharing ideas and allowing women to be able to feel that safe space, because again, in the corporate world, sometimes you have to really fight for your voice and for you to have a seat at the table. And we want to honor those women that have that seat at the table or aspire to have that seat at the table.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, thank you for explaining that. Just because I feel like people are like, "Oh, Miss Corporate America." It's like I have no idea what that is. Right?
And I will say, so I talked about this last night on my podcast about pageantry, because most people, when they think of pageants, they think of swimsuit, a talent. Exactly. But in actuality, what we are, the components of Miss Corporate America is an interview to get to know who you are and what skills that you have and abilities that you have to bring to the table. It's a business pitch, which is 2 minutes long, where you talk about if you are crowned, how will you use the crown in your business and things of that nature. And then we also have a formal wear portion as well. So those are the different categories. And then we have Glimmer Awards, as they call it, where like a media award, Miss Congeniality. So all of those things to allow everyone to share their talents and their skills, but none of the traditional pageantry. Like I said, no swimsuit, no talent. Our talent is our smarts, our wits, our business.
I'd like to. That's excellent. I'd like to think that the evening wear situations like all power suits, right? Like just showing like, hey, look, we're not playing around. No, but I love that. I think that's really cool. A nice way of sort of taking what I would argue is like this familiar formula to people and kind of flipping it on its head. I think that's cool.
So Sierra, I'm just so curious about this whole thing too. So take us back to last year. I guess it was around the same time, because the 2026 pageant is happening like this weekend or sometime in March of 2026, right? This Saturday. So we're live on Thursday, March 12th around the world. So this coming Saturday, 2026, there will be a Miss Maryland pageant, Miss Maryland Corporate America, right? So take us back to last year. I mean, you won. I mean, how many, is it fair to say contestants? How many contestants were there? What did you have to do? I mean, and were there different rounds like they do on like the Miss America or something when you got down to the not last, but you had a
Yeah.
20, and then you had 10,
Yeah,
then you had
last
5, then
year
you had,
and everything. Yeah, no, I got you.
yeah.
So last year it was 8 of us, including myself, competing. This year is actually
Okay.
11. So that's great that we're increasing in numbers as well. But yeah, last year I actually found out about the pageant a little bit later. So I only had a month and a half to catch up and to prepare. And when you sign up for Miss Corporate America, you already get a crown and a sash. So I actually started out as Miss Catonsville because that's the area that I reside in. So with that crown and the sash, you're going out, you're doing marketing, you're telling people about your platform. I did some reach out networking and events for sponsorship and for financial assistance towards the pageant. And then for me, it helped to have a big support system. Because with that personal pitch, because those 2 minutes can seem like forever.
Yep.
So when you're
I
up there,
bet.
when you're just talking casually, 2 minutes is nothing. But when you're up there and all eyes are on you, you want to make sure that you are prepared. So, and I'm very much a perfectionist. So I did my spiel from the bottom to the top every time, like for hours with my family and my friends. And for me, again, my platform was Caregiver Advocacy. So that's not something that you hear about in pageants. A lot of people were talking about, it was I guess, a holistic moment for them based on something that may have happened during their childhood, how they work with youth and young adults and things like that nature. But I was the one that was very different in regards to caregiving. So when I actually came out for my business pitch, I had on my grandmother's house coat and I had her walker. And I walked out and I didn't talk yet because the time doesn't start till you talk. So I started taking off the house coat and I made sure I gave eye contact to every judge because I wanted to make sure that because my message was going to be very powerful, that I had the attention and I commanded the attention of the audience that was there. And so, and
Smart.
I talked and I gave my spiel and I talked about all the things that I want to do as a caregiver advocate under this particular platform. And then also after that was the formal wear. So wearing the gown as well, that was actually, I believe, 40% of our score. And then the day before the pageant, that's when we had to do our interview. So we got asked questions by all of the judges. So it was a very intense but powerful process. And leading up to the pageant, we had weekly meetings, we had different trainings as well to help us prepare far as like walking and posing and things of that nature. So it was a very exciting day, long day, but it was very much well worth it. And I loved every minute of it.
All right. Out in your grandmother's robe.
I love it.
Yes.
I love
Yep.
it.
I
Yep.
love it.
So
That was
because people
very
are like,
attention
what is
grabbing.
she gonna do? Like,
Right. Look.
and then I had my suit on because we had to wear a business suit for it. So I had my business suit underneath of that as well. And like I said, we had the Glimmer Awards. One of them actually was a media award where it was optional where you could make a video talking about your platform and the community that you were representing. So I did win that one as well because, I wanted to highlight, of course, Catonsville, but I wanted to highlight again from a different standpoint my platform because the way you win the media award is by how many likes you get on your video. And so all of the likes that I got, it just put caregiving into the mindset of all of those individuals. So for me, I looked at it as a uh marketing task to do. So yeah.
All right.
That's wonderful. That's what, yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. You said Catonsville. For those of us, for people who are not from the Maryland area or for the Baltimore area who are watching this, because we're on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, so people from all over the world are watching. Catonsville is a neighborhood. I don't even know if it's not a city. It's a neighborhood in Baltimore County, in Maryland. Just to put it in perspective for those who are watching. And so our guest went from Miss Catonsville to Miss Maryland, and then to Miss Maryland, and then competed in a national competition. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, you look like you were getting ready to say something.
Well, I was just gonna say I've done a pitch contest before, and I remember literally taking a week off of work and just writing my pitch and then doing it over and over again. So I 100% remember those days, and it was just like when you finally get on stage, you're terrified, and it feels like there's a billion people out there, and then you just kind of go into your zone, and then you do your
Right,
thing.
because it's so
That's
different
awesome.
than just giving a speech about a particular topic, right? Because you're having the time, and if you went over your time, that was points deducted. And I
Exactly.
think some of the ladies that I competed with, I think they wanted to go off the aspect because they did pitch competitions to just talk. And I was like, no,
Right.
you have to be strategic. I mean, this is a business as well. Although it's a competition, it's still a business and you're putting yourself out there. So you have to be very strategic in how you are communicating when doing that pitch.
Excellent. That's great advice. So I want to go back to the caregiver advocacy stuff. Or actually, let's talk about Rose HR,
Okay.
because you take and sort of combine all the stuff we know about you as of right
Right.
now. You're obviously a caregiver coach, as
Yeah.
as it would be called, right? How do you take that and decide, all right, I'm a huge advocate, or I'm a caregiver advocate, I'm a caregiver myself. How do you take that? Because it's one thing to have an idea, as you know, and then implement that idea and see that sort of come to fruition. So what does that look like, that journey? And then you're starting Rose HR. Like, how does that feel to take this idea and then bring this into reality?
Okay. Well, I'll start with the caregiver portion first and I'll
Sure.
work my way backwards.
Okay.
Because I've always along my journey, because I didn't have anybody when I started out to really ask or to look at as a caregiver. I had to do a lot of things trial and error. And so I've always made it my goal to, if I can help people avoid the mistakes that I've made, and be able to thrive, then that's what I want to do. So I've always done that. And I was like, well, if I put a business together, then maybe I can reach more people, as opposed to just people I just run into randomly or other family members or friends that are in those type of situations. So that is how that was birthed. And I believe that it was actually, my purpose, my mission. I didn't know that when I was a teenager, when I felt like my grandparents were already trying to prepare me for these things. I was like,
Right.
okay, could let me know ahead of time, but it's okay. But and then circling back with Rose HR. So I've been in HR for over 17 years. And I always called myself like the cleanup woman, because I would come into organizations. I'm like, oh, well, you're not compliant with this. You need to fix this. And, I would just put my head in the books and, really get things going. And that term cleanup woman made me start to think, well, okay, people are calling me, asking me to come back and help them at some of their organizations where they may be lacking in HR responsibilities and things of that nature. So I said, okay, well, maybe I need to make this into a business. And one of my friends inspired me. She's like, you're meant to be your own boss. She tells me that all the time. And I used to just fight her on that, on that topic. I'm like, I get that. But as a caregiver, I got to have a main reliable stream of income. I can't do all this
Right.
right now. I have to have this because I have to pay for this. I have to pay for that. And she's like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep telling you. So she really motivated me and held me accountable to create Rose HR, which is named after my great grandmother. And, with that, again, along my journey, I've implemented so many different policies. Like some companies, believe it or not, didn't even have bereavement policy when I got there. They didn't have life insurance. They had very minimal benefit offerings. So I've done a lot in my career to try to help make things better for my employees, because they are at the forefront. And if it's something that I could do to help out an employee outside of the scope of work, like sometimes I've helped people fill out financial assistance paperwork, just to help them pay hospital bills and things like that. I don't mind, staying those extra hours. I mean, I've worked at 70 hours a week just so I can make sure that things are where they need to be for my employees. So that is how it was really birthed, and just being able to help out companies and put them into the right framework of what they need to make things better for themselves as a company operationally, but also for their employees.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, so this is a time where you can go ahead and give another plug for Rose HR. So suppose people want to get in contact with your company and know
Yeah.
about your scope of work. What would you ask? What would you suggest that they do?
So I will say too, I didn't highlight the other part of Rose HR is where I help small to medium sized businesses, not just do HR and set, their HR fundamentals up, or foundation up rather, but I also hire virtual assistants, because a lot of those size businesses are either doing it alone, or maybe they have one or two people working for them. And virtual assistants, they are from another country, but they work on our time zone, and they are equipped to handle social media tasks, basic editing, video editing, as well as administrative day-to-day tasks, email management, handling phone calls. And those are the things that as CEOs weigh us down when we're trying to grow the business and work on the strategy of the business. And that's where they fill in at a fraction of the cost of what it would be for a person here in the state. So, visit my website at www.rosehr.org, and we can set up a consultation and just really get into what you have going on and figure out how we can help. And I have a lot of networking. If it's something that, beyond HR and virtual assistants that is needed, I can put you into play with someone else that may be able to help you as well. And then the Caregiver Compass Academy is www.caregivercompassacademy.com. And the whole idea there is the compass is to provide you with direction of where to go and how to navigate, because it's so overwhelming. You may feel like you need to do everything all at once, and you really don't. We just kind of chop it up and do things one at a time. So with that, you can do a coaching session with me. You can sign up for a membership where you get videos from different experts every month, as well as presentations on like how to hire a home health aide, or what do I need to prepare legally for as my loved one is transitioning, or just to prepare for myself should I need someone down the line. So all of those things we do talk about. And I don't know if I should talk about my podcast, but
Yeah, well, you may as well. I mean, you've got the Rose HR, and then you've
yes,
got the Caregiver Compass, Caregiver
Compass Academy.
Compass Academy, and you may as well fill out this three-legged stool. Tell us about your tell us about your podcast.
So, as you mentioned, the podcast is relatable topics. And I always give the story of when some of your friends you don't talk to every day. But when you do chat, you're like, oh, hey, let's go out to dinner or happy hour, and let's just kind of chop it up. And when you do chop it up, you're talking about your relationships, you're dating, married, what have you. You're talking about your health. You're talking about your finances, and you're talking about throwing in caregiving as well. So it's all relatable topics that we may talk to our friends at any given time. And, I have women share their stories, or anyone share their stories. It's not just for women, but all the things that maybe we're thinking, but that we don't want to say out loud. And so this month's topic is, who are you when no one is looking? So we kicked it off season 3 yesterday with the pageant queens that are competing. And the topic was pageantry. Is it strategy or performance? So it's very much, just like what we're talking about today, and, identifying how to make pageantry work for you and what you're doing and your long-term goals, etc. But again, the bottom line is we're on YouTube as well and Facebook. And you can follow me on Instagram at CECTHEDIVA, the Diva. And that has my link tree in it too, so that way everybody can see all the different things that I have.
Now say that again slower so our viewers can get that. Go ahead.
No worries. So on Instagram, it is at CECTHEDIVA, CC the Diva.
CC the Diva. Okay.
Yep, and you can search us on YouTube under CC the Diva, or put in the bottom line is to search. And my Instagram has my link tree, so it has all of the fun things that I'm doing at any given time. And I'm not going to let caregiving slow me down. I'm gonna wear that hat very proud, and I'm gonna continue to do what I have to do in life to succeed, because one, they're dependent on me to do so. So I gotta make things shake, as I tell them.
So you're gonna wear the hat and the crown.
Yes. Very proudly.
The hat and the crown. So Jay, we're almost at the point. Thank you to our producer for putting that up on screen. We're almost at the point we want to jump on the box. But anything else you wanted to chat with our guests about before we do that?
No, I think now is a good time. So what I'll say is, Dr. Drip and I will say our little end here, and then we're going to leave you to the last word.
Okay.
Before we get out of here. Look, Sierra, I think what you're doing is admirable work. I think it's really helpful. I think caregiving is one of those things where, like, as you were talking about, people don't think about it until it is now you're in
Right.
this position to be a caregiver, or you know you need to be cared for, right? So I think having this sort of at front of mind and thinking, okay, let's put the plans in place in case this is happening or when this does happen for parents or grandmothers and that sort of thing. Um, I think that's a great idea, and I think you providing this service to come in to not only just help people who are caregivers, but into corporations to be like, hey, sort of waving the flags like this is coming down the pike, whether you realize it or not, I think is
Right.
really powerful and really smart. There's nothing that helps people more than just kind of planning ahead for, especially for things that they don't necessarily realize are coming. And so whether that's corporations or just, people in general. So I think what you're doing is amazing work. Congratulations on, winning Miss Maryland Corporate America. But also just congratulations on Rose HR and all the work you're doing on your podcast and everything else. I think that's amazing. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, my turn to jump on the box. Jay Jackson, as usual, took a lot of what I was going to say. So
Sorry.
that's all right. I'm used to it. So kudos to you for all that you are doing. Caregiving, as you've said, is a big deal and is growing exponentially because, as you accurately noted, the baby boomer generation is large, living longer than the previous generation, and there are fewer people to care for that generation than there are people in that generation. I guess I said that right. That generation's larger than the generations after that. And so it's going to be a big, big, big concern nationwide. It already is, but in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll probably grow exponentially in terms of the need. Hence, people building more properties for, you know, folk who need that kind of care. And if we are honest about it, all of us will need it one day.
Yeah,
Right? I
exactly.
mean, there's an alternative to not needing it. Of course, you could be among the few that don't need it, or you may not live long enough to need it, but the majority of people need some kind of caregiving. I was in New York City recently and I was wondering, where do the older people go? I mean, because it's such a fast pace. I said,
Right.
you didn't see a wheelchair, you didn't see a cane, you didn't see any of that. And I'm saying there's some places that, aren't even built or don't seem to be built to be places where folk would go for caregiving. And I don't know that they do that. So kudos to you for your passion around that, for taking care of your great grandmother and your grandmother, but not just limiting it to your own family, and for continuing to magnify this as an issue that we need to just pay attention to, and advocating for the changes that need to be done on a legislative, you know, um, in that arena, legislative arena. And you are so right. As our legislators age and their family members age, people become more sensitive to those things that impact them. So you have a lot going on, but I can see how they are all related. Congratulations again on your Miss Maryland Corporate America, and you're handing off the crown. I don't know, they get their own crown for the 2026 person who will
Yes.
be, who will be crowned in a couple of days. So continue your advocacy. We're glad we had a chance to share what you do with our audience here at the Afro, and we do a lot around healthcare. So this was right. This is a subject that's near and dear to our hearts as well. So thank you for joining us on today. Thank you for continuing to advocate for such an important, necessary issue, and all the best to you as you hand your crown off.
Thank you.
And maybe you'll come back. Can you come back and before you get on the bus, can you compete again on the national level or not? You can't do that
I
again?
think the way that they have the setup, I won't be able to unless so but it's all good. Again, I hold the title of that first. I'm kind of saying
But you would have
like
you would have our vote for the corporate one. That's why I was just kind of curious.
yeah, I will ask. I don't think that they have figured that part out yet, so
Okay.
working out some tweaks. But yeah, some people did ask me after the nationals. They were like, can you do it again? And I was like, I don't know. Can I? I don't know.
It's a good question.
Okay, well, good question. Well, now you're on the box. You can say whatever you like to say.
Okay, no, thanks. So I guess I'll start off too, just saying about the pageant for next year. I mean, not next year, I'm sorry. That's this Saturday. So March 14th, this Saturday, it starts at 7 p.m. You can purchase tickets at www.md.Miss Corporate America, and then Miss is MS, corporateamerica.com. And I would love to see you. I would love to see everybody there, take pictures with everybody, and you get to meet me and learn more about what I do, and learn about these lovely ladies that are going to be competing. They are some powerhouses, if I didn't say that before. All 11 of them, and I really don't know who's going to get the crown, and they would get their own crown. But I will be placing it on them and doing my final walk, which every time I say that out loud, it sounds so sad to say my final walk as queen. But nonetheless, I'm always going to stay very close to the organization because I believe in the mission and vision of the organization. And again, I thank you all for the opportunity for allowing me to share my story. And because it's not something that people really welcome in caregiving, like you said, unless they are in that predicament themselves. So I like to be welcome into those rooms to just get people's minds start to go and think. And, by nature, I am a person that likes to help people. So whether I'm helping people in their business, helping them in their personal lives, caregiving, whatever the case is, I'm always willing to do so. And that's something that my grandparents instilled with me. That's just how our family is, all about helping people. And let me help you. Again, visit me on social media and my websites, and let's make it work. And of course, if you want to be a guest on the Bottom Line is, same thing. But let's talk. And again, I appreciate the opportunity on the chicken box. And I love a good chicken box. I just wanted to close with that.
Right. We didn't even say that, if you're not from Maryland, you might not know that it's what,
Right.
4 wings and a fry?
Yes.
3 wings in the fry. Somebody's wings in the fry. Hot sauce or ketchup, we can debate that. Yes. So that
Right.
is the chicken box.
I grew up on that. My parents didn't live far from Walbrook Junction.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we would have vacation Bible school, we would sometimes go get a chicken box. And,
why not?
Yep. So I love that. And we still keep that. Like my aunt and I will, we might not get the actual box, but we'll like, oh, let's go get 8 wings. And, and split them. It's just, that's my favorite food. So a little tidbit about Miss Maryland.
Right. Well, why not? Thank you for that. Thank you for the favorite food thing as well. Well, if our other co-host Impeccable was on, he would say, this is right up the alley to what we're talking about. He would say, call a senior today. Don't text them. Don't email them. Don't send a message. Show the love to our older generation. That's been our running theme at the bottom of the show since we started a few years ago. Call a senior. Show the love. You never know, as Miss Maryland Corporate America Sierra Morgan has told us, you never know when it's going to be your turn. And it might not be when you think it's going to be, because things don't necessarily happen in the same order that we think they should happen. And so again, until next time, thank you for joining us on the Chicken Box, powered by Afro News. Go to afro.com. Please take out a subscription. Please consider a donation, as we are trying to recruit and retain HBCU journalism students to work in the business, and we need your support and your help. And again, congratulations to Sierra Morgan. All the best this weekend. Jay Jackson, that is it. Unless you have anything else to say, we're going to thank our producer, Asia Martin. Thank you, Asia. Again, thank you, Sierra. And until next time, I'm Frances Tony Draper, and you have been on the Afro's Chicken Box.